Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. You may be seated. Wow, if that didn't give you goosebumps. Woo. So there's probably some things that you may know or may not know about Marissa. She is a singer, obviously, a songwriter, an accomplished recording artist. She is a woman of many talents. She is fluent in both English and Spanish. She writes poetry and composes songs in both languages. Most recently, Marissa has released original songs to include Who Are You and Vintage Romance under the stage name of Zilea, which will be followed by her first extended play recording being released later this year. Marissa has been musically inclined her entire life. She plays several instruments and has been in her school choir every year since she's attended Pecan Valley Elementary. Great job. Very proud of you. Thank you, too, to our cadet command. Great job of posting the colors, as always. Excellence and precision. At this time, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce one of our board members. If you're not aware, East Central is incredibly blessed to have a dedicated and highly supportive school board. One of those members is Monique Pressis, known affectionately as Miss Mo by many in our community. Miss Mo has served 17 years on our Board of Trustees, and currently she holds the office of Vice President. She is the proud graduate of East Central High School, and she and her husband, Charlie, have raised two proud East Central graduates, one of which is a teacher here at East Central High School today. Her roots run deep in the ECISD, to say the least. She is a leader and a business owner in our community. She has the heart of gold and full of love for our children, which drives her passion to ensue the future will be filled with rich opportunities. Miss Mo is dedicated, loyal, hardworking, and it is my distinct pleasure to welcome her to the stage to say a few words on behalf of the board. Miss Mo. Thank you.
Well, good morning. I have to have my notes here. I want to thank you for the opportunity to welcome you all back to the 2021-2022 school year. It's been an honor to work for and amongst such amazing educators such as yourself and to be a part of this East Central family. I hope you've had an opportunity to at least catch up, rest, and have a little family time this summer, especially after this last school year and all the challenges that it placed upon your shoulders, teaching and surviving during a pandemic. I'm positive that we could all put our heads together, share a few experiences, and write a bestseller. This would definitely be reading enjoyment and a historical lesson for our children and theirs. Never ever would I have imagined that waking up and watching life as we knew it would suddenly disappear and be replaced with masks, closures of all kinds, social distancing, food shortages, and hoarding. We won't even talk about the TP, the Lysol, and the bleach that suddenly became gold. What a difference a day can make. But as this happened, something else occurred. This district and all the staff from A to Z shifted gears and went to work. Faced with all the challenges that were changing on a daily basis, you assessed, adapted, and made it happen. You came up with solutions on the fly to keep the train running like a fine-tuned machine. I'm sure this will be remembered for a very long time. I know I will never forget it, and I will make sure and remind anyone that needs to know how amazing this district was and still is. That's the thing with the kind of people that fill this room today and all the rooms across the district. From every building, department, playing field, every facet, each moving piece and part is comprised of individuals that love children and educating them. You believe in each child, and it's your very mission to provide them the very best education that you can. But it doesn't just end there. You mentor, guide, counsel, provide food and clothing, and you push them to be the very best human they can be. And in private, I know you worry, you pray, you wonder how they're doing when they aren't in class, and you probably cry. You are truly special people. Unlike any other profession, your job is twofold. You're not only educating children, you're raising them. You're spending more hours with them on many counts than they do at home. Keeping up with this, along with all the other requirements, is beyond admirable. I mean, I really don't know how you do it all, but I'm grateful that you get it done. That all the collaborations work, the goals and hopes and dreams all come together as a beautiful work of art called success. So as you head into this school year, I pray that the only challenges you face are easy and welcomed, and that for every problem, you find an amazing, easy solution. Or if not, and it proves difficult, I pray that you learn from it, and that you're able to laugh at the end. I hope that you lean on each other and understand that even though we think we know absolutely everything about our colleagues and our friends, that many times they're suffering in silence. No one knows the depth of another's despair. Judge lightly, love heavily. Kids pick up on negativity and stress. If you need help, reach out. If you need a minute or a break, ask. We're in this together, and to rise, we must continue to lift each other. Lastly, I'll repeat this well-known quote with a few added wishes. Life is short. We never know what tomorrow will bring. Take the trip, buy the shoes, eat the cake. But most importantly, give that hug. When your instinct tells you and you're drawn to that random act of kindness, do it. You have no idea how wonderful you'll feel and how you might change someone's day. Trust me, it's always the right time. Nothing lost, nothing gained. Say thank you and I love you, and never stop changing the life of a child. The world is a much better place because of it. Thank you.
Ms. Moe, thank you for your dedicated service and those words. They mean a lot to all of us and to our school board, all the members that are here. Thank you so much for your time. And if anybody's catching us online, we just want to say thank you on behalf of the District of ECISD. We're just humbly honored to have the opportunity to serve, and thank you for your commitment to our students and our staff. I have a little fun here, so go with me. So the next person that I have the pleasure of introducing and calling to the stage needs no introduction. He has publicly professed to many of us on our leadership team that he has a man crush on Matthew McConaughey. He often will say, all right, all right, all right. In fact, so much so that we in our district leadership, if you hadn't seen it online, went through some Mongo drum lessons. Thought we were all trying to channel our inner Matthew McConaughey. I was hoping he was going to see what happened next. In fact, many of you have seen him on his many Facebook and YouTube lives over the past year. He's become pretty famous because of them. In fact, I've heard that the paparazzi often is at central office waiting for him as he arrives to take pictures and autographs, those sort of things. Most recently, I heard a story about when he was at HEB, and he was approached by this sweet older lady. She said, haven't I seen you before? Aren't you famous? And he stopped. Well, why, yes. Maybe you've seen my Facebook and YouTube lives. I am the superintendent of schools of East Central Independent School District. For which she said, wow, I didn't know East Central hired Antonio Banderas as their superintendent of schools. He is a staunch supporter of East Central Independent School District, if you haven't figured it out. So much so that he is willing to sacrifice his time for good causes that ultimately support all students and staff at East Central. One of those noble causes is sacrificing his time for the East Central School Foundation. If you're not aware, they raise money. Those monies go back to students for scholarships and staff for grants for them to create innovative projects in their classroom. So every year, they put out an auction. And the community enters this auction, and they bid on things to spend time with our superintendent. And I know it's tough for him to oblige to do these things with these people that spend the good money to go back to kids and to go back to staff, but I know somebody's got to be willing to do it. So things that he, has to sacrifice for are things like fishing with the superintendent, hunting with the superintendent, painting with the superintendent. I know this was a hard one this year, wine tasting with the superintendent. And last but not least, and I know this was really hard for me to do, but it was golfing with the superintendent. So I've heard next year the foundation is willing to add that skydiving with the superintendent is on the rock climbing. And this is the one I may actually know my name in for, but it's parkouring with the superintendent downtown. But no, seriously, on a serious note, I have learned many things from him. Most importantly, that we need to take our job seriously, but not ourselves. He has guided us with grace, wisdom, and courage during our most difficult year in education. In a time of unrivaled uncertainty, he led with conviction, integrity, and steadfastness, which gave us all in this room and those online a little bit more certainty. Certainty that our district will continue to do what is right for students and staff, regardless of the circumstances. In my opinion, he is the very best superintendent in the state of Texas. On behalf of the students, the staff, the faculty of East Central Independent School District, I would like to publicly thank him for his leadership. Let's please give a warm welcome to our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Roland Toscano.
So that's not what I had in my mind's eye. I had post-introduction, this standing ovation that rivaled Marissa's, and instead I get this room full of belly laughs when my name's called. Thank you, Mr. McKay. And if you ever see me giving Mr. McKay a hard time, which kind of happens frequently, do not feel sorry for that guy. Well, I'd like to take the liberty. All right, Mr. McKay, today is your day. You win. I know that the words that you heard from the board, Ms. Moe, landed on all of us in a very sincere, heartfelt way. I think that their work speaks for itself. Her words were fantastic, and they were very aligned with their actions over the last, well, probably 30 years, quite frankly. But I thought it would be appropriate to kind of put a timeline together and show our employees across the district that when the board says that people matter, and that if we take care of our people in this organization, then subsequently we could take care of our most precious resource, and that's our children. And these are the things that since 2016 the board has done, despite lean financial times in most of these years, to leverage our resources to prioritize taking care of our staff so that they can take care of themselves and their families and subsequently be whole when they come to work to take care of our children. Most recently, you remember that when we shut down in March, it was a crazy, stressful time. And there was a lot of angst around, what does that mean? Are we going to get paid? Some of us are hourly, and, we panicked. There was obviously a lot of justified concern. The board immediately responded with a resolution that ensured that every employee would be kept whole, and that those who had to work during the closure for emergency purposes to maintain operations, got paid premium pay during that time period. In addition to that, they continued to think about leveraging resources to make sure that we had quality health care, that the healthcare option, the alternative healthcare option that they designed and invested in, was stood up despite the pandemic in a high quality, reliable way that delivered on the promise that we had made to our employees. And in addition to that, despite the fact that they were unable to provide a salary increase, they found a way to give all employees a mid-year retention payment. And when I say all employees, those of you who have been with the district for any number of years know that there is no one employee more important than another, and no group of employees more important than any other, that we're a machine, we're a system in which every part must function and be taken care of and must be appreciated equally, such that the engine or the system can run in its most effective, efficient way. And this year, the board responded by saying that any employee who was with us this past year, who continues to be with us this year, gets an additional 2 personal days. And in addition to that, they raised summer pay, because we knew that we had to extend summer programming options and reimagine those for our kids, given what they had endured. They continue to study the market, and they continue to make sure they're committed to making sure that every employee, no matter your role, if you work here in East Central ISD, your salary is going to be commensurate, at the very least, with a similar role in any other district across the city. And in some of your roles, comparing that to the private sector, because some of your roles are competitive in the private sector as well. And so as a result of that, they determined that this year was a year that they needed to make an even more substantial investment. You all know that everybody got a true 5% salary increase, but as a result of the fact that they included the step in addition to that for teachers, every teacher got more than a 5% increase, and in some cases almost as much as an 8% increase, depending on where you fell on the step. Every auxiliary and paraprofessional employee got 5%, but that was post moving the minimum, midpoint, and maximum 10%, which meant that in addition to that 5%, they got that difference that we slid the scale. And we slid the scale because the board was committed to making sure that the lowest salary in any position across every department in the district was at least $12 an hour, which meant that sliding that scale was necessary and that everybody benefited as a result. And the average salary increase for employees across the district was closer to 6.5%. That's more than double anything they've done in the last decade. And that's them putting their words and their money where their mouth is, right? So we should appreciate that. And we want you to know that we do. And just a quick point about the alternative healthcare option. I know that some of you take your spouses, you have other options, but we know that TRS was becoming more and more cost prohibitive for employees across the district, and we leveraged a District of Innovation process that enabled us to stand up our own self-funded healthcare plan. And we did that this year. And almost 900 employees jumped from TRS to Care ATC and benefited from that option. About 400 of you, about half, actually went to the clinic. And I want to comment on that because the whole idea behind this is wellness. It's proactive wellness. It's not responsive healthcare. So all of us have been raised thinking that you don't go to the doctor till you're sick, right? And as committed professionals across departments in this organization, we don't want to leave our kids alone while we're tending to ourselves sick. So we go without taking care of ourselves year over year over year. And the consequences that are statistically revealed all over the place. We know what the consequences are. So 400 of 900 going to the clinic is not acceptable. 900 of 900 need to go to the clinic, if for nothing else, to get that annual well visit. You can see here before I show you what all is offered at the clinic that you might not get from a traditional primary care doctor. If you look at the rates between UBC and TRS side by side, they both had to go up this year. Healthcare is a very volatile market. We all know that. But on the last column, to the far right, you can see the difference, the monthly and annual savings for each of the different plans that you would take when compared to TRS. And so it's a substantial savings. Employees, in recent years, we've been able to provide a free HD healthcare option. This year, because of cost increases, we had to split the difference, and the board graciously agreed to add the employer contribution, but it's $15 instead of $0. It was the best we could do this year, but it's still substantially better than the comparable option with TRS, which is $69 a month, right? Now, what does the clinic provide? Well, you can see in the middle section that you pay nothing and you get everything. And on the far right, you can see all of the different treatments and services. If you haven't had an opportunity to go to that clinic and get a well visit and meet the physician, this is not a PA, this is not a nurse practitioner, this is a physician who will spend the necessary amount of time with you. And I would say the reports I get across the district and my personal experience is you're going to spend probably one-on-one 30 minutes to over an hour with Dr. Hill, reading all of your labs, checking all of your vitals, checking your history, and talking to you about your total wellness and what your goals are and what she recommends. And she'll schedule anything and everything else that she thinks you need for her to get a complete profile, and that together y'all can come up with a plan to ensure that you're proactive about your overall wellness, right? Because we know we got to be well to lead well. We got to be well to be our best selves on a daily, whether at home or at work. Now, as a trade-off, our commitment to the trustees, our commitment is we're going to ride for the brand. That every one of us here, and I see those EC brands all over the place, we're going to come to work every day with an attitude of gratitude, that we are very appreciative that this district gave us the opportunity to serve its children and its community here in East Central. That we're grateful for everything that they do to leverage conditions to make them better each and every year and throughout every year. That we're going to have faith that even when things aren't going well, that they're going to have our best interest behind the scenes, that they're fighting for whatever is necessary to make sure that we can get over, through, around, and past whatever circumstances are preventing us from being our best selves or doing our best work, right? The second thing we're going to do is show up every day, and we're not going to ask what East Central can do for us. We're going to remind ourselves that it's about what we can do for East Central. That's the commitment that we all in this organization have to our board. Our board's primary job is to make sure that the values and the interest and the hopes and dreams of our community are reflected, that are tightly coupled in what we actually do for kids and what we actually do for this community. And then lastly, we're going to manage East Central up, and we're going to manage ourselves up, one another. It's no secret that in this age of education where it's no longer about the common good, education really is about a consumer good, where people shop around, where people think they investigate to see what they can get from us, right? It's no longer the same context that we once taught within. That in that circumstance, we have seen time and time again that our own worst enemy is ourselves. That when we get in a pinch, in social circles perhaps, we may talk bad about our curriculum, our instructional models, or about the behavior of our kids, or about the makeup or changing makeup of our community, or one another, right? Managing up means that you reframe and you accentuate the positive and you set people up for success always. Whether that's talking about East Central ISD, whether it's talking about your department or your school, whether it's talking about your colleagues you work with on the daily or the leaders that serve you. You're going to manage them up. That's the commitment. When you're talking about our school board, they have to make tough decisions. And sometimes they're not popular. And in this last year, I'm here to tell you, as you know, every decision we made, we were idiots and heroes. Every decision. As far as we're concerned, every decision they make, they're heroes. Every decision we make, we're heroes. Everything we do here in East Central ISD, we are heroes. Because of what they do to take care of us, we're committed to the board to make sure that we manage you up and manage one another up. Nobody in East Central, based on the board's action, is just a maintenance worker, just a substitute teacher, just a bus driver, just a superintendent. Everything the board does is ensure that every employee benefits the same. Whether that's a salary increase, whether that's making a commitment that if employees are going to get 5 personal days, then why doesn't every employee get 5 personal days, no matter their job? That's unique to East Central ISD because no employee, no matter what you do, no matter what your role, is just a. In fact, without the nail, the shoe would be left wanting. Without the shoe, the horse would be left wanting. And without the horse, the soldier would be left wanting. And without the soldier, the battle would be lost. And if a battle's lost, the civilization is lost. So when we're talking about somebody who's not just a, yeah, that's right. As much as that's encouraging, and I appreciate that, it would be a little better if you stood. But that's okay. Save that applause and standing ovation for the next 2 speakers. Riley Jones is an East Central graduate through and through. She is a Hornet. As a child, she attended Pecan Valley Elementary, Salado Intermediate School, and Legacy Middle School before graduating from East Central High School in 2014. It was junior year, sitting in Dr. Ayton's English class, where she found her passion and her calling, and it was teaching. After high school, she attended Schreiner University in Kerrville, Texas, where she received her bachelor's degree in education in 2018, and then her master's in education in 2019. She accomplished both those things much faster than I did. Her teaching career came full circle when she had the opportunity to student teach back at Legacy. East Central was home, and she was so glad to be back. After student teaching, Riley remained at Legacy and has taught Algebra 1 for the past 3 years. During that time, she's had the opportunity to learn from and work alongside so many great role models, some of which were her mentors since grade school. She has also been the math department chair, assistant volleyball coach, track coach, and this year will serve as a math instructional facilitator. Riley was named Legacy Teacher of the Year and then the East Central ISD District Teacher of the Year for the 2020-2021 school year. A school year like no other. She was awarded the Trinity Prize in Teaching from Trinity University in March. Riley takes pride in her work here in East Central ISD, and she is so happy to be making an impact in the future of her community by providing diverse educational experiences. Please join me in welcoming our Teacher of the Year, Riley Jones. You want to just use the computer? I'll leave this. Yes, you can use the right arrow, or you can use the right arrow. Your call. I might have turned it off.
There we go. All right. Now, can you hear me? All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I don't know how I can follow that from Mr. Toscano. I feel like I am back in high school presenting in front of my old teachers, my old principal, my old superintendent, so I am glad to be here. It is an extremely humbling experience to be here in a room filled with so many amazing educators. We know that some of you are joining us online, and we hope that you can feel the atmosphere in this room. I'd like to start by officially welcoming you to the 2021-2022 school year. Let that sink in for a moment. I can't believe that we have made it here. It seems so unreal. After a year like last, I'm sure that you are all ready to be back in your classrooms, seeing smiling faces and ready to greet your students. Thank you so much for the wonderful introductions and the joyous welcomes. I'm so blessed to be here with you today, and by no means am I here today by my own merits. I'm here today because of my amazing teammates, colleagues, administrators, and friends who have helped me along the way and who have molded me into the person that I am today. For you all, I say thank you. There we go. First, I'd like to take a moment to thank my family for always being the rock for me and always pushing me to reach my goals. Without your love and support, I would not be where I am today. I would also like to thank my cheering section from Legacy Middle School. You'll see some of them here on the screen now. These amazing people have poured every single ounce of heart and soul into me and have made this possible. I could not have done this without the many role models who have taught me, guided me, and encouraged me. And for you all, my Knight family, I will forever be grateful. Once a Knight, always a Knight. I would also like to say thank you to Superintendent Toscano and the Board of Trustees for your continued support and guidance. In a year like no other, your leadership and your compassion has shined bright. You had to make tough decisions and navigate uncharted waters. Thank you for holding strong. Last, but certainly not least, I'd like to thank the entire East Central community. This community has raised me from kindergarten through senior year and has continued to give back tremendously. This community is unlike any other, and Hornet Pride is unlike any other. For those of you who I do not know, my name is Riley Jones, and I teach Algebra 1 at Legacy Middle School. I've had the honor of being a math department chair, volleyball coach, track coach, and this year, the math instructional facilitator. Last year, I was chosen to be the district's 2020-2021 District Teacher of the Year. I always knew I wanted to become a teacher. I can still picture myself as a young child playing school with my friends, my family, and my dolls. We all did that, right? I played school with just about anyone or anything that would sit long enough for me to teach them something. Now, of course, playing pretend school was fun. It was stress-free, responsibility-free, and drama-free. Lesson plans? I taught whatever came to mind. Classroom management? Nobody misbehaved in my classroom. Differentiated instruction? Nobody needed attention because everybody in my class was smart. Simply put, it was easy. So the little naive me assumed that since playing school was easy and fun, the real thing should be too, right? As a teacher, we get to influence the lives of our students. We get to come to work each day and make a difference. As a teacher, you give students confidence not only in their abilities, but in themselves. You get to inspire and help mold the future. Well, my young naive self had some things right. It is absolutely fun. It is absolutely rewarding. It is absolutely life-changing, but it is not easy. This past year brought a lot for us, things that we could never imagine. There was no roadmap or blueprint on how to navigate a global pandemic, no definite answer on how many times you should wipe down your desk during the school day, new things added to your daily routine like a COVID screener and the animal of the day. No perfect example on how to teach to a wall of black squares with little name icons. But still, we gave it everything we had. And everything we had was everything we needed. A few teachers were called upon to talk about last school year. Here's a short video.
to binge all the Girl Scout cookies and only wear sweatpants for at least 3 months straight. I've been a teacher for 27 years, and this is the first time I have just hated what I do. It has nothing to do with the kids. We were heroes 1 minute, and then vilified. People wanted to blame us for having schools closed. I wanted to stand outside the school with a microphone and just shout. I am just a lady. I have no idea what is going on, but I am here, and I'm really trying my best.
There are things that I think we'll take away from this, but who goes for it? Like,
I got hybrid, then remote, then back in person, then we got quarantined, and then I have to do state testing. Somebody somewhere is not listening to educators.
So I had my kids in the classroom, not really socially distant. Then I got my kids on Zoom, then I got kids I never was able to find. They were busy. Like, take attendance, like I just gave up.
I care about my kids, I love them. But I feel like I'm choosing between my sanity and having to pick out and fight.
I think one of the hardest things is making the middle schoolers wear their masks so we can stay at school. Like, could you just put a mask on and then not just stay?
It's been a struggle, but I also have really valued this year as a time to question a lot of the things we believe about public education.
This is our chance to really shake up education. So look at what really matters. So look at how do we spend our 53 minutes in class each day. I teach high school ELL students to see them struggling at first, but overcoming all their challenges in a virtual environment.
I'm so grateful that I looked outside as a way to safely bring my students back to school. Some days, our read aloud take place under a canopy of tall pine trees.
I can't do this without getting broken up. This year we did the good solution, but the good promoted. It's a church out of all of us, teachers, administrators, students. We couldn't have done it without each other. America's educators are stronger and braver than you think. If we can make it through this year, we can make it through anything.
Man, I watched that like 10 times before this and I swore I wasn't gonna cry. But here we are. If you're anything like me or anything like those teachers in the video, you felt these same feelings this past year. Some of them maybe more than once, but you were there for your students. You helped find resources for students who were struggling. You helped build relationships with students who were miles and miles away. You proved that social distance does not have to mean relational distance. You designed virtual lessons with limited time and resources. You taught using online platforms and created countless videos to assist student learning. You basically invented pandemic pedagogy. And then, in the end, we sometimes felt as if it wasn't enough. I'm here today to tell you that you are enough, and that we are enough, and we have always been enough. And if you need it in bold neon flashing lights, here it is. You are enough. There's a scripture, Jeremiah chapter 17. It says, when a tree is planted by the water, its roots will run deep into the streams. And when the heat comes, it doesn't fear because the leaves will stay green. And when the drought comes, it has no worries and it will not cease to bear fruit. Just like this tree, we planted our roots and we held strong. When the heat of the pandemic came last year, we did not fear. We adapted and we overcame every obstacle and ensured that our leaves stayed green. When the drought came, and it was a big one, we did not cease to bear fruit. Maybe it didn't feel as plentiful, or maybe we didn't get to see the fruit of our labor, because sometimes it's not meant for us to see the growth in it. We are just meant to plant the seed, water the flower, and let it go. Let me ask you a question. One that you don't have to answer right now, definitely not out loud, but one to think about. Are you here today because of a career, or are you here today because of a calling? To me, a career says, when the circumstances change, I change. When the circumstances change, the salary changes, the environment changes, the job description changes, I change. But the calling says, no matter the circumstances, I'm going to show up and I'm going to be there. And I think all of us in this room didn't just show up, but we showed up with a joyful spirit. And today, you're here at this welcome back, and you're smiling and you're clapping, and the school year is about to begin. We've heard all of the negatives, and now we have a choice. We have a choice to be down and out about our circumstances, and we have a choice to turn it around and shatter ceilings. As we kick off the new year, many of you come with new enthusiasm, excitement, and energy. Each year you stand in front of your classroom and you ask, how am I going to take this group of students from where they are now to where they need to be? And just like my young, naive self learned, it's definitely not going to be easy, but it will be rewarding, it will be life-changing, and we will bear plentiful fruit. What could be more important right now than determination or grit or a growth mindset? What could be more important right now than embracing the power of yet? It starts with us, with you, and with me. This year, as we stand here in the face of uncertainty, let's commit to being a model of grit, a model of determination, and a model of growth mindset for our students. We can do this. We are educators. We get the opportunity to mold the future into whatever we want it to be. But sometimes our only available method of transportation is a leap of faith. But that leap of faith can change so many lives. As I leave you here today, remember, you are enough, and you have always been enough. And if you say it enough, it will start to become a part of you. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you today and for what you have done each and every day for your students. Have a wonderful school year, and remember to be kind to yourself. It is not meant to be easy, but it will be life-changing.
Wow. Thank you for those words, Riley. I think you hit home with everybody in the room, and you couldn't have said it any better. It was amazing. What a great representative of the amazing educators and employees across the district, and how fortunate are your students to have you teach them. And like Riley said, we do our best. We make a choice every day to respond to circumstances in a way that benefits kids. Right? We take control. We're not a victim. And we show up every day. Maybe we're not perfect, but we show up happy and positive and enthusiastic and continue to promote that sense of genuine care and concern in the culture that is our classroom and in our buildings, so that kids know that this is their place. This is a place for them to feel accepted, to belong, to be believed in, and to be loved. And Riley, you exemplify and embody that, not only this year and the years you've been teaching with us, but even today, so thank you. Now, there are other folks that feel that way about teachers, and one of the biggest supporters of educators we all know from the private sector is Charles Black and his organization. And so they reached out to us and said, hey, we got some gift bags, and we'd really like to fill them full of stuff teachers would love, and we would like to have you give those out at your kickoff event. And so we're going to take just a minute to do that today. We've got, I believe, 1,400 or 1,500 names in this bin. And Ashley is going to pull one out at a time, and I'm going to announce the winner. And I think we've got, 8 or 9 of them. And I think if you pay attention, you're going to hope you win. I promise. So Ashley, the first winner, Maria Gould from Legacy. pounds of. Next winner, Brittany Dowda, Highland Forest. We'll deliver that to you, Miss Dowda, and you can hear him screaming from here. All right. Next winner, Victoria Garcia. All right. Next winner, Francis Foser, ECISD. Congratulations. Thank you. Monica Davenport from Tradition. Michelle Irizarry from Oak Crest. Douglas Atchison, Heritage Middle School. There you go. Congratulations. Thank you. Good stuff. Might be a reporter there. Lori Morganroth. Leticia DeLangel, Sinclair. Brenda Burmeister, Cassidy. All right, now it's about to get real. It's about to get real. It's not a new car, but all right, Shane, bring it out so they can get a good look-see. Good job, run back! Look at that. Christopher Buckley from Harmony. Oh, you see what happened? And they're full of school supplies. Diana Glass, Pecan Valley. Cecilia Garza from Salado. Gotta be somebody from here. Lindsay Horton, Heritage. I believe we've got one more Cody bag full of goodies. Are we ready for this? Roland Toscano. Wanda Eatman. So you may also have heard that the Charles Button Foundation invested in the Holdsworth Center in Austin, and that the Holdsworth Center is his legacy gift to his mother, who's an elementary school teacher. And his belief is that as a business owner in the private sector, his position is never to blame teachers. He's wiser than that. His mother was a teacher. He knows that it's a difficult, complex career, calling, and that if we don't support teachers in any way that we can, that in essence, we're shooting ourselves in the foot as a country, as a democracy, right? He sees it that clearly. And so the Holdsworth Center is a significant investment in providing the same kind of leadership, development, and support that corporations get when developing a leadership pipeline, a pathway towards successive promotions and growth within the calling, within the career, right? That school systems generally don't have that level of support and generally don't have a really rich, well-designed, clear to all employees pathway to leadership development and upward mobility in an organization. Ultimately, providing that deep bench of leaders within an organization, because any organization is going to rise and fall with the quality of leadership, and leadership is going to come and go. And you've got to be able to have one shark tooth fall and the next shark tooth comes right back in, and it's just as sharp and just as able day one. And so we aspire to do that. So we submitted an application. I think there were 50-something districts across the state that also submitted an application, and we were one of 7 districts selected by the Holdsworth Center for a 5-year partnership. It's a 5-year investment from the Holdsworth Center that'll be in the neighborhood of $6.5 million to help us build that out so that well beyond my time, many of our time in this district, it'll have the ability to continue to maneuver, continue to iterate and adapt, continue to deliver, regardless of the changing context, on the hopes and dreams and the expectations that our community has from us for its children. And so with us today are some of our partners that are going to be with us for 5 years from the Holdsworth Center. I'd like to welcome Keisha DeJarnette, Pat Baglieri, and Karen McKeith. Welcome, y'all. Thank you for being here. So this is what they believe, it's what we believe, and this is what Riley made clear. So, the most exciting. Meg Wei Tao is a senior at East Central High School. She was born in Floresville, came here as fast as she could. I might ad-lib. Lived in China during first grade, but has been a student in the district since the 2nd grade. She attended Pecan Valley, Oak Crest, and Heritage, and she is here today with her grandparents, mother, father, and 2 younger brothers who are also students in the district. Meg Wei is one of our top academic students actively participating in our colloquium and honors and AP programs. She has proudly served as a drum major for the Hornet Band since her junior year. Greatest show on earth, and at halftime, I must say. And has played the clarinet for 7 years. She has also played with the San Antonio Youth Wind Ensemble. Meg Wei wants to pursue a degree in music education at the University of Texas in Austin. She is also planning a trip to travel abroad to Southeast Asia through colloquium. She enjoys participating in powerlifting, National Honor Society, and of course her hobbies include calligraphy, poetry, and skating. Some facts about Meg Wei is that she was once on a game show in China. She can sleep for 13 hours. Sometimes I feel like that's me in a week. She has a whiteboard in her room, and she likes working with children. We all share that in common with you, Meg Wei. So please join me in welcoming our student speaker representing 10,000 students strong in the East Central ISD, Miss Meg Wei Tao. All right. Should be on.
It's very nice to be, oh no. Boo. Okay. It's very nice to be around y'all again. I say this because I just like school. I enjoy walking down a hallway with the bulletin boards filled with classwork and flyers, passing by an admin with plenty of coffee in hand, seeing the lunch staff and their nicely done hair, or the custodians with their radios and keys to every door, and of course, being with my teachers during class. I missed y'all. Again, my name is Megway, and I'm a senior here at ECHS. It is my honor to represent the student body and welcome everyone to a new school year. I remember my second grade year, I received a little teacher award from Mrs. Gonzalez and a future teacher award from my third grade teacher, Mrs. Walls, both at Pecan Valley. And also in the third grade, I was looking for a last minute Halloween costume to wear to school, so I dressed up as a teacher. Now I'm a senior and thinking very specifically about my future. I know that I first want to be a band director, and I know this to be true because in my house on Animal Crossing, which is a game I play on my Switch, I'm decorating it to look like a band hall. Since teachers have been constant influencers in my life that I look up to, I now strive to become one. Even those staff here today who aren't my teachers are still my influencers because you are here for the betterment of all students in every schoolhouse across our district. My personal hope is that this year's EC staff will enjoy themselves more than ever. And while I realize this takes much planning and teamwork, it will brighten our hearts to see the adults around us who play such a substantial role in our upbringing to continue to show the passion and love they have for education every minute of every day. The people sitting in this lovely auditorium right now consistently show their students they are cared for, and we are grateful. The staff here at East Central ISD continue to prove that educators are kind, influential, and very much important. Whether you've been teaching here since before I was born or this is your first year, remember the fact that you are your best self when you yourself are feeling better. Let's say maybe less than a quarter of your students are passing, maybe no students are passing. If you're feeling upset about that low number, we're going to notice when we walk into your classroom. Many students will struggle this year, especially coming back face to face with the COVID pandemic. If you take a moment to breathe, find the patience that you so often give us, we will work hard to try again and learn from you. You have to take care of you so you can take care of us. Because of band, I've had the opportunity to be a student leader, and I've had some resources offered to me, such as camps led by SASSY. This is an organization that offers seminars to student leaders. Now, every time I'm at one of these leadership camps, one of the concepts that they try to tattoo into your brain, weave into your DNA, is that you never know how much influence you have. Upon hearing this many times, I've learned so far to take this two ways. Either A, every little thing you do has influence, so make sure you're doing the right thing, or my personal favorite, option B, since everything does have influence, you're bound to make someone's day. So many of my teachers have been this influencer for me. Like the time Coach Soto at Heritage was comforting this girl in the 7th grade who went through this dramatic breakup. Or the other time when it was the last day of my 8th grade and Mr. Atchison, one of our Heritage band directors, was comforting me in the midst of last day of school blues. What both of these precious moments taught me is that there's always somebody's watching and somebody that cares. And sometimes it's not the big ways you are there for students, but the little ways that you're here for us. This sounds silly, but here at ECHS, Coach Galish, my algebra teacher, asked me, Megway, why are you always eating in my classroom? And then I realized, well, I am always eating. Or how because of my ECHS band director, Mr. Johnson, always laughing with his head back and his hand on his belly, now I do that sometimes too. Other silly ways I act like my teacher is that I've started to talk like Miss Tilton, my colloquium teacher, and I even raised my eyebrows like Mr. McKelvey, one of our Heritage Band directors. But more importantly, it's the life lessons that you have taught me and other students that stand out. One time, Mr. Lacey, the band director at Heritage, had us play a scale just because he liked it. He deviated from his lesson plan. And that helped me to realize that you don't always have to stick to your plan. You can adapt and live in the moment. Another time, I was freaking out about some minor problem, explaining to Mr. Mendoza how the world could end if I didn't clean my cat's bowls. But I started calming down because I noticed that he wasn't super concerned. That was his way of teaching me how you react can affect an entire situation greatly. And finally, just being around Mr. Mel and seeing him be consistently patient with other students, I'm a little more patient. Just sitting in his class, witnessing him have these vast amount of patience, my heart grew 3 sizes. And then, of course, there are the little acts of kindness that we learn from other staff on campus. The good mornings that greet us when we step on the school bus. The how are you doing from our lunch staff that check in on us when we get our lunch trays. It's all the little things that the admin do to direct students at lunch and at football games to show us they care, to make sure that we have a good day at school. So as you prepare, plan your lessons, football game schedules, lunch menus for the school year, for any school year, know that your efforts don't go unnoticed. We observe you all planning and attending meetings, but don't forget to live in the moment. Don't forget that each little moment is a great opportunity to influence our hearts and minds. So remember, it starts with you. I'll see you on the halls. Thank you.
Thank you, Meg Ray. That was amazing. Thank you. Message received, Megway. We will be forever reminded somebody's always watching. And that every one of us, regardless of our role, is an educator. And the most important lessons we teach our children is how we behave when things aren't going well, how we behave or treat others when they maybe disappoint us, and how we treat one another. That those may be the most important lessons that we teach. Therefore, we have to make that conscientious choice Riley talked about every day, no matter our circumstances, that we got to be our best self. Right? We got to show up and be our best selves because we're obligated to the children that we serve, and they need us to be our best self. Like many of you, I've got little calendars that got little wit and wisdom reminders. This was the one from March, and I thought that would be very appropriate given Megway's message. I would also like to congratulate Megway's mother and father, Xiong Ying and Anita Tao. Congratulations for raising such fantastic children and for the brilliant message that she lifted us up with today. So welcome and thank you. And Riley, trust me, I know that significant others are the most important thing in helping us be our best self, especially our spouses, our fiancés, the men in our lives. So, what did I say? So Anthony Quintero, thank you for loaning us such a wonderful educator, and thank you for being here to support her today. I kind of felt like the camel sometimes during the last 18 months. Certainly felt like the mister who was not letting go for the life of him. I am not quitting. I am not giving up. I am not letting go. If anything, the last 18 months taught us that, we all have a plan. And we're all our best selves when things are going well. But when we get hit in the mouth, when things happen to us that we cannot control, we have a choice, right? And then how we respond can make all the difference in the world. The thing about obstacles or difficulty or adversity is that it reveals more of who we are. That's what adversity does. It reveals more of who you are. And if we think back to who we are as a school district the last 18 years, we weren't perfect. We intended to be. We never quit. We never let go. We got knocked to our knees over and over and over, but we kept moving forward. Instead of doing this and fracturing and blaming our school board or our crazy superintendent or our principal or our curriculum or whatever, we came together and said, whatever it takes. We're going to do whatever is necessary to take care of our kids, to take care of our community, and take care of one another. And to many hands, the load is light. We don't give a crap. There's no such thing as it's not my job. What do I need to do? Do I need to pick up some extra kids? Do I pick up another subject? What do we need to do? Do I need to help deliver meals? We did whatever it takes. I believe that who we truly are as a school community was revealed. One of my favorite stories about adversity, and you've probably heard it before, is a story, and actually it's happened 3 different times now in NASA's history, but back in 1982 was the first time they did it. They took a bunch of insects up into space, and their theory was, man, if you could just take that burden of gravity away, dang, they're gonna live longer, they're gonna reproduce more, they're gonna be more efficient, like life's gonna be good because you took the weight of the world off of their shoulders. Lo and behold, I think it took 7 days. The first thing they noticed is they were banging into the wall. Most of them weren't even flying. They didn't know, come here from Sikkim. They didn't know which way was up, down, left, or right. And they just couldn't fly without gravity. They tried to build a honeycomb and they struggled. They tried to reproduce and very few actually took and almost none survived. The bottom line is this, right? Like struggle is a good thing. That's where growth spurts happen. That's where we learn more about ourselves and become better, whether as an organization or individuals. Like we need that rubber band to be stretched if it's going to be of any use. So it's a frame of reference that I believe we take as an organization into any obstacles or adversity, is it's always an opportunity. It's always an opportunity for us to learn to know better, because then we're going to do better. Here's the reality of the situation, right? And this is not my words. This is coming from our Commissioner of Education. This is coming from the media that, hey, look, man, kids only spend half of their first, 18 years of life in school. Only half, because the school year is not year round. So you only have half of the number of days and the number of years that they have left to even make a difference. There's this thing called summer loss we've been hearing about. Thumb loss. Forever, right? We know that kids, when they're gone for 10 weeks or 12 weeks, that if they're not doing anything to continue to learn and explore and think and create, that, for those who don't have those experiences, you see gaps over time, right? And so a child whose family, two-parent household, both working, not home, they don't go on vacation, no one's reading to them, they're playing video games all day, not that video games are all bad, you're going to see that loss more significant for them. All of the education researchers out there and data analysts say that during this pandemic, summer loss doubled what it normally is. And if you look at state accountability results, they look like they did 7 or 8 years ago. So did kids lose 7 or 8 years of learning? No, not necessarily, but the results look similar to 7 or 8 years ago, right? So framing this narrative that you can begin to see. I'm already thinking 7 to 8 years, no crap, that's how important we are, right? But that's not the narrative. Students lost more in math than they did in reading. Of course, language is part of everyday life. Sometimes we only do math in math class in life. All students were impacted, but none more than those that come from circumstances of poverty. And this is not just necessarily in East Central. It's the state of Texas. It's the country, right? Students who came in person during the pandemic were impacted less than those who were a little bit of both, than those that were all remote. But here was the profound conclusion. Asking teachers to teach concurrently was impossible. And every child was negatively affected as a result. I would conclude, this was not from our commissioner or from the media, this is me saying that teachers endured the unimaginable. For 170 days plus the last spring of 2020, right? March to the end of the year, where we, emergency response plan, you know what we did during that time. We did the best we could, but cruel and unusual punishment, right? Here's the narrative. Oh, wait, before I share that, I got to make this point. The commissioner made it very clear that during Hurricane Katrina, those students that were displaced, when they tracked them for the remainder of the time they were in education, whether they were in Louisiana or whether they came over to Texas or wherever they went, none of those students recovered. They never fully recovered. So they got years behind or lost whatever they lost because they were out a year or however long they were out of school. They never recovered. So painting this whole narrative of, hey, good job, guys. Y'all can do this. And basically, you guys worked harder than you ever worked in your entire life and failed worse than you ever failed. That's pretty encouraging, isn't it? Yeah. Well, that's not our freaking narrative here in East Central ISD, and I hope today has made it very clear. I hope our board has made it very clear. We did what we had to do, and we're not satisfied with what we did. We're not going back to normal. We're going back to better. We learned a whole bunch of lessons. We're better individually because of it. We're better personally because of it. We're better as a school system because of it. And we're going to show that. And we also know that, as I mentioned earlier, public education is not a common good anymore. It's a consumer good, and it's been that way for a while, y'all. You know when you were in school, right? Oh my God, if I get in trouble, it's going to be twice as bad when I get home. I remember telling my dad, why do you always take the side of the teacher? Why? Why don't you listen? Right? Well, I can tell you what, my kids personally are better for the fact that they're always wrong. Right? And that's just not the day we live in anymore. So what are we going to do? Are we going to be bitter? Or are we going to get better? I mean, you know the answer, right? So it isn't about us. It's the point I really want to make here. But it's because of us that students like Mayway and her siblings are going to have the opportunity to explore who they are, what they want to be, and how they're going to get there. And they're going to develop, right? And they're going to have a path. And they're going to have dreams that they're going to follow, and they're going to know how to get there. And they're going to represent themselves and their family very well and ultimately make us look great. But that's what we aspire to do for every kid. It's because of us and the decisions we make and the way we show up every day and the way we make kids feel, every one of them, every minute, every day. And we take this position that everything is figure-outable. I don't know if that's a real word. But we're not going to be like, oh my God, what are we going to do now? I hope during the pandemic, nobody saw us sweat. Yeah, there were some things we had no answers to, probably most of the time. But we took a deep breath. We put our heads together. We put a lot of smartest people in the room, and we came up with the best next decision. And we just continued to iterate and evolve, and we were no longer change averse. Right? We got excited about the next best thing because we knew that we kept moving forward and getting better and enabled ourselves to do our best work, be our best selves, and our kids to have the best experiences regardless. So some things we're going to have to think about as we come off the pandemic. I mean, I don't know if we're going back into one, whatever. But we have to think not about recovery, right? And response only, right? We need to be thinking about reimagining is, we've all heard the adage that you can't waste a good crisis, right? This is an opportunity for us to etch-a-sketch some things and think about some things we've never thought of before and take advantage of what we learned during this time so that we can create the conditions where we are the definitive choice for parents in this consumer market, where every kid really does truly feel like it's about them every minute, every day. And that every kid graduates and represents himself like Meg Way. So we're going to have to think about time, maybe differently than we've ever thought of it before. Like how can we make sure that kids get the time from us that they need, the individual attention that they need, time in every lesson, time in each day, time outside the school day, time as we think about the school year. Will we always and forever continue to be on a 170-day calendar? I don't know, but I think this is the opportunity to continuously work together with our board, our community, to think about what problems we're trying to solve that time could help us with, and reimagine how we use time. It's a huge lever. We also have to think about talent. The board has done a tremendous job, as we all know, making sure that pay and benefits isn't the reason why someone would choose another option. But that's not the only thing. Recruiting and retaining talent certainly is critical, but how do we use our talent? Do our most experienced teachers always get assigned AP dual credit? Or do our most experienced, seasoned, high-quality, consistent teachers also serve some of our most challenged students? Right? How do we think about leveraging talent in the most high-impact ways for our students in the community that we serve? We also got to maybe think about what we're doing in the classroom to begin with. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. We know that in education speak, right, that what happens in Tier 1 should yield learning outcomes for 80% of our students, and that only 20% need a little extra, right? The reality of it is what we're expected to teach kids is way more complex than what we were expected to learn at the same age. The number of kids we teach is pretty large, and our kids come to us all over the place. And so the reality of achieving high quality Tier 1 that truly engages kids in the content in such a way that 80% of it master it the first time you teach it, that's a pipe dream. However, how can we think about our instructional models and our resources and the experiences we design for kids in such a way that we move closer to that reality? Because we can't play intervention and acceleration all the time. We can't, that's not a strategy, right? Continuously thinking about recovery and acceleration and repair. We can't do that with a large percentage of our kids year over year over year. So we got to think about what we're doing in Tier 1, maybe differently than we've ever done. And then we need to think about how are we supporting kids when they need extra from us, and is it effective? In my mind, I'm thinking I go to the doctor, he checks my symptoms and he says, you need penicillin. This is the number of milligrams. You take one of these a day for 7 days. Call me if you're not feeling better. The reality of it is he knows based on my symptoms that he can diagnose me with X, and he knows the number of milligrams based on my makeup and my condition that over what frequency and duration is probably going to yield a highly predictive outcome, right? When we think about what we do when we intervene to support students, can we say, if we give this student this, A, we're sure it's what they need, and B, we can project it's going to have a 6% effect or 5 to 7% effect. Can we do that? I'm going to tell you we can't. We aspire to, and this is the time for us to start figuring that out. We just don't have time to guess or hope, because that's not a strategy. We also know that our students, like all of us, I believe Mo said earlier, you don't know what everybody's going through. We don't, as much as we like to think we know what we are each going through, and we would like to think we know what our children are going through, the reality of it is we don't know. And given the last 18 months, there is a larger percentage of us and a larger percentage of our students that have experienced trauma. And the thing that we know now better than ever about trauma is you're not one and done. You don't go through trauma, get a little help, and then you're better forever. It stays with you. It's part of who you are for the entirety of your life. And so it has the potential to derail us. It has the potential to derail our children throughout their time with us unless we have some systematic way to ensure that we don't lose sight of them. We've done some great things in our system, but now we've expanded a partnership with community and schools, and we're building out a model called comprehensive case management in every one of our buildings to support all of our teachers with children who need some support beyond academics so that they can thrive in your classroom academically. And then we've got to engage our families differently. In this new era where schooling is a consumer good, parents truly have to be our partner. They no longer just take what we say at face value and say, thank you. They have expectations. They have needs. The expectations we have of students and that our society has of students relies on what goes on in the home and what goes on in the school to be aligned, to be working together on behalf of their child's education. And so we have to think about family, reimagine family engagement in a way that parents truly feel like they are our partners and we feel like they are our partners in the best interest of their children. So one mind frame I would like for us to consider is something that I learned several years ago about the Buddhist faith, and it's this concept of Shoshin, this idea that in this particular religion, they hold themselves to showing up every day in everything that they do with a beginner's mind. So if you think about the first time you did something, right? Everything was a possibility. You were a sponge. You took it all in. You didn't act like you knew everything. You didn't make excuses. You wanted to collaborate and learn from mentors and others. Imagine if you brought to your work every day a beginner's mind. Imagine if we as an organization showed up with a beginner's mind as we reflected on the things that we're doing. Are there new possibilities, right? Because if we're open-minded and eager to learn and willing to embrace new possibilities, we can get to this place where we're maybe reinventing in some high leverage areas that we've not yet reinvented in. And we also know that this is an aspiration that we've always pursued, right? Creating experiences for kids such that they wanted to volunteer time and effort and attention, not only when we gave them time to do the work, but beyond the walls of our classroom. So much so that it was transferable, that the learning that happened stayed with them, right? That they didn't forget it come test time and we thought, damn it, I went over it 5 times. Like there's no way that you don't know this. There's a difference between engagement and compliance. We know that, right? And so bear with me. Like let's think about the last time we used the quadratic equation in life. I mean, we're all educators here, right? We're good at school. When's the last time you diagrammed sentences? When's the last time you showed off on a traveling excursion where you memorized all the state capitals and you still know them? When's the last time you wrote poetry for your lady in iambic pentameter? When's the last time you figured out the mass of an object using Avogadro's number? There are 2 of you in the room, I can tell. When's the last time you referenced a periodic table before you cook something? Or my favorite, I do it every now and then, I factor polynomials. And have we referenced the progressive era to try to understand what the heck's going on in our world today? One of you. And my all-time favorite, the gerund. Using an ing action verb as if it was a noun. And you're probably thinking, this guy is super smart. No, he's not. I Googled it all. Oh, baby. Oh, this book, life-changing. Honey, go to the Target and get me some supplies. I'm going to make a diorama. How about this? Let's stop learning about things. Let's stop creating conditions where kids are just learning about things and they're doing stuff about things. This is what I'm talking about. This is what Phil Selecti was talking about. Designing experiences such that they pull interesting and critical information that will help them do something with it. All those things I just listed, other than the people who teach it in this room or have taught it in this room, you don't use it in life. But it has an application in life. If you don't teach it in context, it means nothing. They might pass the test, but not the quarterly exam or the semester exam or the end of year exam, because we learned that like weeks or months ago. From students giving answers to students asking questions. Go to the Right Question Institute online. I was blown away. From students to students engaging in dialogue instead of just discussion, right? I think we know the difference semantically, right? Like discussion is just getting to this place where we together come up with the one right answer. But dialogue, tons of possibilities and perhaps infinite. We've got to build a case for our point of view based on and anchored in some sort of evidence, right? Like, let's have dialogue where we're not trying to pigeonhole people into one right answer, right? And then we go, kids don't problem solve. They don't want to think. But we ask them closed questions all the time, right? Did that make you feel bad? Yes or no is the only answer. How about, how did that make you feel? Infinite possibilities. Well, tell me more about that. Why did it make you feel that way? No right or wrong, right? Open versus closed questions. Very simple notion, should be the way we operate if we truly want to engage kids in learning that is so profound that it's transferable. How about taking academics to the applied? Anybody see any physics in that? I promise you there is. Oh. How about that? Is there any history that has to be learned if you're going to make a documentary? I promise you the guy filming knows nothing about that country or nothing about, other than we're going to go do a documentary on this. But by the time they're done, this guy's an absolute historian for life. I know you can't get that at the drive-thru at McDonald's, but I'm pretty sure there's some chemistry involved. And if we want people to understand, children to understand about their civic responsibilities, have them learn about case studies, have them investigate and have discourse around, dialogue around what happened and why and what were the other possibilities. If you want them to learn about civics, don't have them take a vocabulary test. So a couple of key points, and all of these things happen, right, in our classrooms. All of these things I'm suggesting have happened in our classrooms forever. They happened for us when we were students in classrooms. But did they happen by design or by chance? Did they happen all the time, some of the time, or occasionally? And I think if I asked you what kind of experiences you want for your child, these kind, every now and then, occasionally, some of the time, or most of the time, what would you say? You know what it is, right? And is it doable most of the time? Is it doable? And what would be the difference in the learning outcomes for our students? I mention this because I think you were all reminded during the pandemic about the importance of not providing assignments that students can Google. And in full disclosure, I've got one among you. Okay, he's going to be 15. Okay, and he'd go to his room. This is when we were forced to close, and be done with a whole day's work in 45 minutes. I said, "You're full of nonsense." And he'd show me every assignment, and I said, "You did not do that. Explain to me that." He had the right answer. He couldn't explain it until I kept drilling him. His mom, and I never called his mom. Hey, come here. It took about 2 seconds, and he told the truth. He Googled everything, like literally the exact assignment. So in a world after Google, which by the way, like that's been like our whole generation here, right? We cannot give kids assignments that enable them to Google the product. They're not learning. You're wasting your time. You're working on the wrong stuff, right? So it's critical that we don't provide learning experiences for kids that they can Google. That's all I got to say. Once upon a time, my son made the most phenomenal mouse trap here at East Central, and he used a record, right? Now, you science teachers are going, yeah, we used to do that all the time. He made the most phenomenal, and I thought he was a genius. He was in my garage, man, using all my tools. I'm like, this is unbelievable. This thing went like 60 feet. He Googled it and then watched a YouTube video and made it. And I was like, well, God dang it. And he got a freaking A. Right? So no criticism here. We're just trying to shift the lens, right? Let's look in the mirror now and let's think about what we do and how we do it. And then, as I mentioned earlier, these open and closed questions. And we just have to accept this. This has been, those of us practicing today, this has just been true for all of us. So, remember that the task you give kids will predict their performance. Will predict the kind of learning outcome, right? What is the thinking required for them to actually do this? Is it require them to think independently? Can they phone a friend? Can they Google it? Google's their friend, right? What is it require of kids to complete this task? And you can predict the learning. And content covered is not content learned. Content covered is not content learned. In fact, there's a lot of parents going, really, my kid goes to school for 7 hours, and they only need 45 minutes. You know, we could be doing so many other things. And is that a good investment, right? Like that's if we're at our worst. So, we don't make kids any more than Tide makes clothes. But if you use Tide, your clothes comes out better, right? And what I would argue is that if you use our stuff here in ECISD, our kids, they come out better. That's the value proposition to anybody considering East Central ISD, to anyone whose children attend our schools, that if you'll just send your kids to our schools with our amazing teachers and our amazing leaders and our amazing school board, we promise you it's figure-outable, and by the end, your kid is going to come out better. Not only that, we promise you that every year that we work with your kid, they're going to grow a year. I mean, right? Like it's logic. If we have you for a whole year, we ought to be able to grow you a year. And if you're behind, we'll grow you more than a year. We'll get you where you need to be. Oh. And if you send your kid to our schools, by the time they graduate, they're going to be employable. It doesn't mean that they're going to go straight to work and not to college. It means, like Mayway talked about, maybe being a teacher, a band director. I mean, this is a student that's super clear about what she's good at, what she's interested in, what she's passionate in. She knows how to get there. She's been paying attention to her role models. She's well on her way to being a teacher. You heard Riley's story. Could we not do that for every single kid so that they get the right experiences, develop the right skills, technical skills, soft skills, come out with the right credentials to not just work at, no offense, right? Like not just work at Bill Miller's when they're in college, but work maybe with kids, maybe doing music while you're in college. Look at that resume alignment, right? Look at that experience she's getting to make sure that this is really what I want to do for the rest of my life. And also makes her more marketable when she hits the market, right? So my question that I'll leave you all with, those in the room and those around the district, is will we live out our vision or our circumstances? Our vision's pretty clear. Okay, we know what we promised the community. And I'll use a story to kind of exemplify the point that I want to leave you with. We're in San Antonio. We love the Alamo. And maybe some of us who teach history know a heck of a lot more than I do, but I Googled it. And I learned about an epic battle during the many battles of the Alamo. And this particular battle the commanding officer was William Travis. William Travis was actually a lawyer, but during this time he volunteered to fight in this Battle of the Alamo because Texas was trying to get its independence from Mexico. And he felt like this is a matter of national security. It's a matter of principles and values that he held strong to, and he felt like being a lawyer wasn't going to change the world, but that volunteering to serve in this very necessary conflict was what he was going to commit to. And so he did. And he rose quickly to an officer rank and was in the Alamo with 150 men and got surrounded by Santa Anna's army, 1,500 strong and growing. So he reached out and said, we need reinforcements. Please send what you got, and he got 32 more men. Santa Anna's army offered the opportunity to surrender. Said, listen, look out the little windows at the Alamo. I'm envisioning there was these little windows. You can see this army, 1,500 strong and growing. Look around at your little frail army of 180. No way you're going to make any impact, and you're not going to win this battle. Surrender. So he pins a letter. Shortly after calling all the troops together and framing the circumstances. Listen, folks, they were all men at the time. That's probably why they didn't win. But I'm going to say folks. He says, listen, folks, we're in a tough situation, right? We're in a tough situation. We all know what we're up against. And we all know that our effort may be futile if you choose to think about it that way. And he says, you're all good folks. And you all signed up to be here. However, I would never ask you to do what we're about to do if you're not comfortable with it. Because what we're about to do isn't necessarily for everybody, and it isn't necessarily right for you currently. So before we move forward, I'm going to draw a line in the sand in the Alamo. If you go tour it, look for that line. And he said, with no shame and no judgment, those of you who don't feel like this next set of actions is right for you, you're free to go. Santa Anna's army is not going to take you out. You've surrendered and you're good. You get to go home to your family. But the rest of us who step across this line, he writes, I am besieged by 1,000 or more of the soldiers under Santa Anna's army. I have sustained a continual bombardment and cannonade for 24 hours and have not lost a man yet. The enemy has demanded a surrender at discretion, otherwise the garrison are to be put to the sword. That means, like, all of us will die. If the fort is taken, I have answered the demand with a cannon shot. So once he did that exercise, which, by the way, nobody turned and walked away. They all walked across the line. He replied to, here's an opportunity to surrender by shooting a cannon. And he's letting, I guess at the time, whatever was Washington, probably ain't right, but let the powers that be know that he's answered demand with a cannon shot and that our flag still waves proudly from the walls. I shall not surrender or retreat. I call on you in the name of liberty, of patriotism, and everything dear to the American character to come to our aid with all that you can. The enemy is receiving reinforcements daily and will no doubt increase to 3,000 or 4,000 in 4 or 5 days. If this call is neglected or what you send is not enough, I am determined to sustain myself and my troops as long as possible and die like a soldier who never forgets what is due to his own honor and that of his country. In victory or death, William Barrett Travis, last thing he ever did. Shortly thereafter, he was one of the first killed in the battle, and all men who were there died. But if you know anything about the history of the Alamo, it is precisely what led to ultimately Texas gaining its independence, that one single heroic effort. And so I'm not suggesting that what we're going to embark on is not going to allow you to go back home to your loved ones. But I am suggesting this, right? I'm suggesting that I need to look every one of you in the eyes and say, I'm all in. Not today, not tomorrow, not when it gets tough. I'm all in all the time. I am all in. I'm gonna look you right in the eyes and say I'm all in. You look everybody else in the eyes that you work with in the trenches. You say, I am all in. And better than that, you can freaking count on me. No matter what we go through, I got your back. I got our back. I'm all in. That's what happened when they walked across the line. You can count on me, and I am all in. And if we go forward, we may never recover from COVID. I don't know, but we're all in. And what we do from this day forward will echo for eternity. It will forever change what East Central ISD will become. It will forever change what public education can and will become. And to me, that's worth getting up every day. That's worth making some short-term sacrifices, right? That's why we do what we do in this thing we call our calling, right? That no matter what changes, our calling don't change. So with that, I want to welcome you to the 21-22 school year. We will figure out whatever the heck we face along the way. We're committed to managing up our organization and asking not what East Central can do to us. And when things get tough, we're going to come together and we're going to attack the storm together. And every day is a new day, and we're going to be 1% better tomorrow than we were today. And we're going to respond to every event by choosing to be positive and making that outcome the most beneficial. And we're going to do it for all our students like Megway and all of our teachers, those of us who are in leadership positions of service, all of our teachers like Riley, because that's what we signed up for. And so we're not going to turn and walk away. We're going to step across the line. It's a great day to be an East Central Hornet, folks. Welcome. And, hey, Shane, you going to cue the music? Just to get you riled up a little bit before you exit, our marketing communication team has some T-shirts. They got some swag, but not enough for every one of you, so you're really going to have to, be ready to catch it. They're coming from everywhere.
All right, while they're throwing them up, hold on, pause the throwing real quick. Pause the throwing. Pause it real quick. All right, y'all have been sitting down long enough, so go ahead and stand up. I want everybody to stand up in this room. Hold on, we got more. All right, make a diamond with your hands. Take a breath in when you bring it to your chest. Breathe out. Have some resistance. Breathe in, breathe out. One more time, breathe in, breathe out. Lift it up to the sky. And then this is where you let all your toxins out. You gotta bring it down for a pose. On 3, 1, 2, 3. Ah! All right. Here's what I also want. I know we're EC proud. And we're probably united, but also we are EC. So on this row right here, I want everyone to say we when I say. Right here in the middle, R, and then over this side, EC. All right? All right, let's start. All right, good job, good job. I do have some extra shirts left, but do my helpers still have shirts to throw or no? If you don't, come up here and I'll give you more to throw. But I want to see everybody's EC spirit. I want everybody to be loud in this room. At the count of 3, make as much noise as you can. Start from the diaphragm and get it all out. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I didn't say stop yet. I didn't say stop yet. I didn't say stop yet. This side right here in the center. That was a little weak to be honest with you. All right, this side right here, make some noise. All right, wait a second. You got one left? Hold on. Who's got one left? Any throwers? No? All right, so one more time, as loud as we get, on a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Have a good year, EC.